Welcome back, everyone, to our playthrough of the career mode here in NASCAR Heat 2. So we're coming off of a Dega race that I think was just about as fun as we could possibly make it. As we've talked about before, the recipe at Talladega and Daytona to move forward is very simple. You just hug the bottom, hug that yellow line all the way around the track, and the AI cars will eventually just move up the track enough that you can get enough of a run and get underneath them and pick up positions that way. It took us, what, 6, 7, 8 laps, something like that, to get to the front. Maybe not even that long. I can't remember. But it didn't take us very long to get to the front. Once we got there, rather than just running the bottom and trying to block, we got on the outside line and tried to push some people to the front. Unfortunately, the 2 and 3 wide racing really doesn't work there. I mean, obviously there's plenty of room, but it doesn't really work simply because the physics won't allow for it. The drafting, side drafting, all that kind of stuff really just isn't in place to allow you to get out there and get some good side-by-side or even 3 wide racing. It's difficult to do anyway, but we had, I think, about as much fun as we could possibly have. We pushed multiple cars up to the lead, pushed the 2 car up there, the 78 car, all that kind of thing. The 78 car ended up winning that race. So all in all, I think we had just about as much fun, and now it's time to move back to Kansas. So we're back to a 1.5 mile track. Kansas, very, very fast and a very wide track. It races very wide as opposed to a track like we'll be going to next in Charlotte, which races very, very narrow and at times feels like it's too narrow to even be running side by side through the corners. But Kansas is very wide. It's a lot of fun to race at because you can race anywhere from top to bottom and everywhere in between. It is a very fun racetrack, so let's head to it. All right, so before we get into the race itself, let's take a quick look at the setup, and only using 50 pounds of rear spring split again to tighten up that car and make it more difficult to turn. Then also, if we go over to the miscellaneous settings, 8.5 inches on the left and right side track bar. Again, just trying to keep this car fairly snug, making us have to work for every position we gain. Should be interesting. Again, this track is very wide for racing, easily 2 or 3 grooves here, and should be a lot of fun. All right, green flag here at Kansas. Let's see what we've got. Should be pretty tight. The good news is this track races very wide, so we ought to have plenty of room. The real question will be, will the AI give us any room, particularly on corner exit? All right, completely out of the gas on corner entry. Probably going to do that at the entry to turn 1 and 3, at least while we're in all this traffic. And then if we can ever get free to run some laps around the bottom, or at least the middle of the track, we'll see how it goes from there. But for now, trying to tiptoe, you can see it is very tight. Alright, good run off the corner, and that should allow us to pass a couple of 3 cars on the straightaway, which is the best place to pass them. Alright, I got completely out of the gas there. I can see bad things happening with us coming off that corner 3 wide, and I did not want to have that happen, not this early in the race. We got 35 laps to make our way as far forward as we can. And that will be plenty of time. There we go. Things are starting to spread out a little bit. And by spread out, I'm simply talking about the 2x2. If we can get them down to single file, then that gives us a lot more options. It makes it a lot less stressful to race against these guys. But you look up here in front of us, that's a hornet's nest. There's nothing good about that because these guys are running 2x2 and in some cases 3x3. And we don't want any part of that. We need all of that to go away. All right, let's get down toward the bottom a little bit more. I already know this car is extremely tight, so the setup is doing its job. It's not enabling us to carry the amount of speed we would like to carry through the corners. All right, I'm treating this very easily, very carefully right now, trying to give these guys room. And if we're going to be 3 wide, we want to be the car on the bottom. We do not want to take it 3 and 4 wide and be the car on the top. All right, so we're up to 25th. And these guys are still trying to sort it out, racing extremely hard around the 20th position. 15th to 20th. That seems like that's always the hornet's nest.
Good job, officer.
You can see Junior, he ran right up underneath us, got that position back. He couldn't wait to get right back in the middle of that hornet's nest. Trying to slowly work our way through as best we can.
Still a car out there.
Yeah, car is extremely tight on entry, making it very hard for me to run the bottom with cars out beside me. You see the 3 bobble there in front of us. It's going to give us ouch. Going to give us a good run on him. Hear the spotter, I'm sure, say he was real tight on us, and that is definitely the case. Ouch. Another pop by whoever is beside us. Alright, now things have started to spread out a little bit more. This will make it a little bit more advantageous for us to try to work our way through.
Easy.
One at a time. Alright, so we're finishing up lap number 10, and we've made our way into the top half of the field, giving us plenty of laps left in order to make our way into, I guess, the goal right now, of course, would be, first goal is top 15 at this point, and then we'll try to work our way up to the top 10 if we can. All of that will ultimately depend on how much speed we have. Oh, wow, we got a really nice run on Allmendinger there. 11 really wants to come back down in front of us. Alright, still have a car on the outside. I believe that's Allmendinger out there. See, the AI do not want to give us any room whatsoever. And that's perfectly fine with me. We'll take whatever room we need. Alright, so the 15th position is right in front of us. That's our first goal. Now that we've gotten ourselves into the top half of the field. Alright, nice run on the 27. And we're back to the 31. Who will not be easy to pass. He never is. Let's see if we're able to run away from him off the corner. Alright, yeah, looks like we're getting some distance. Of course, if we mess up the corner entry and lose some speed, he'll be right back to us very quickly. Alright, so that puts us up into the top 13. So we've made our goal of the top 15. Now we're going to set our sights on the top 10. You can see very, very tight on corner entry and exit for that matter. Particularly on corner entry. That's the front springs doing that. Alright, so now we've got some open road here. Let's see if we can run down, I believe that's the 41 car immediately in front of us. We've got 19 laps. And it looks like running the bottom is going to be a lot more difficult. So we may stick to that second groove, maybe up a groove and a half off the bottom. So we're definitely catching the 41. Alright, now we'll have to try to figure out how we're going to get by him. If he'll give us that high side where we can make our normal entry, then we'll be fine. I think we can get around him on the high side. But we'll see. Alright, so we got our good entry into the corner and we're able to clear him. That puts us up into P12. You can see trying to enter low. Not going to be able to do it unless I back off a little bit earlier on entry, which I don't want to do. I want to charge the corner. That's just my Achilles heel is usually entry. So we're on lap 20 of 35, so we're past halfway now. Now we've got quite a bit of open space in front of us. We've pulled away from Kurt Busch a little bit. But now the question becomes, can we close in on these guys in front of us? That would be a top 10. Yeah, I could get it down to the bottom, but again, it just doesn't feel natural at this point. It doesn't feel like the car wants to be down there. It's just so tight. Running this second or even maybe the third groove feels a lot more natural for the car at this point. And again, that'll be different for everybody. Everybody drives the car different, so it's not like that's a universal thing. Essentially, I'm just trying to drive the car and keep it as free as I can. Keep the car to where it's not bound up, and I don't want to fight the car. I want to let the car do what it wants to do. That's where moving around from the bottom to the top is a great idea. Sort of search around and see what feels right, and obviously what's fast. Alright, we're running these guys down, but are we going to have enough time to get to them and have a chance to get by them? That's the real question. Still got plenty of laps left. But at this point, we're sort of creeping in on them instead of catching them quickly. Really don't want to use the leaderboard and follow it that way. I prefer to follow it just by vision and just see if I'm getting closer to them. Really be nice if these guys in front of me would fight a lot harder amongst themselves, give us a chance to get to them quicker. Alright, so regardless of whether we end up catching these guys and passing them, the setup has worked out very nicely here. The setup has worked, I think, very well, because we have between a 10th and a 15th place car. This is also where this is a good number of laps. If we lengthened this out and did what I really want to do, which is run much longer races. I prefer longer races. But in this game, it just doesn't work out that way, because if we run longer races, that gives us more time to get to the front, and that's not really what we're after. The shorter races give us what we're looking for as far as competition, where we have to really push to get to the front, to get as far forward as we can. Really tight there. Of course, I'm pushing it pretty hard now and really abusing that right front tire, because at this point, why not? Only a few laps to go, and we're closing in on these guys, but not quickly enough to be able to catch them and do something with them. So 6 laps to go. Really driving it in there hard, trying to get back to the gas as quick as I can. And then using up all the track on the exit. Now, if we're playing a game that actually had tire wear of any significance, I would not advise doing this, because you would, or at least not doing it for very long, because you will absolutely run the right front tire off of this thing, and then it would be no grip left whatsoever. See, the 2 guys in front of us have now separated. So whereas they were running pretty much nose to tail before, that has all changed now. So we're only going to have a shot at one of the 2. We might be able to get to Logano before we run out of laps, but there's no way we're going to catch anybody else in front of him. Trips. Man, this is going to be close. I think we're going to get to him probably with 1 to go. I don't know. Then he has some corners where he pulls back ahead of me a little bit more. Turn 1, we seem to have him covered. That's where we gain our time on him, and then in 3 and 4 he seems to be holding his own maybe even pulling out on us a little bit. All right, that's a pretty good run for us coming through the corner. You can see we're not really gaining on him. So we've got one more time. Oh, I see smoke. And okay, we got a car. Well, I don't know. It looks like he's pinned behind that car. Alright, so how about that? A wreck right at the finish line. Not sure where that came from because we all had plenty of room to get through there. So we'll come home 11th in this particular race. Not bad. Not bad. Just outside the top 10. And I think that's pretty much what we had as far as speed too. We didn't have, oh, and the carnage continues. So we didn't have the speed, I don't think, to get up into the top 5 for sure. So about 10th is about the most we were going to be able to get. All right, so we now reached $13 million in our bank account. Oh, wow, listen to that engine sound. Yikes. All right, so Ryan Blaney comes home with the fastest lap, and I have no idea how close we were to that. Most laps led, Brad K. All right, so again, overall, I think that was a very good setup, and it worked out pretty well. Anywhere between 5th place and 15th place, I would say, is a really, really good setup because it enables us to be sort of in the middle of a lot of racing. If you get up much above 5th, and it's, you know, just by virtue of where you are in the field, there's not really a whole lot there as far as racing generally. Then if you get back too much beyond 20th, then sometimes it can be a real hornet's nest from the 20th to 25th or so. And we've seen that multiple times on different tracks. So really 5th to 15th, somewhere around the top 10 seems to be about the best as far as racing goes. And so by that metric, I'd say that was a successful race. A lot of fun there, pretty clean racing there. There was a lot of action at the first of the race with cars consistently running 2x2 and in some cases 3 wide as well. So that'll do it for this video. We'll come back next time and head to another 1.5 miles in Charlotte. So thank you very much for joining me, and stay tuned for more NASCAR Heat 2.